Now, I think one of the things that has gotten a lot of has pit let me say has pit brother against brother is the notion of where we stand as the Black collective, as Latinos are being harassed by the government at this point. In our group chat, we've had this conversation. We were talking briefly about the riots, and I said that I'm not moved. And I think that I won't say I think. I know that I'm not moved at this point specifically because I think I'm still in a place of anger, and I'm trying to contemplate and compartmentalize that anger, right? Anger not necessarily with the Latino community, but specifically watching as folks have been beating the drum of what this will look like and people ignoring it, beating the drum of protest and revolution and people not listening or following the sound of that drum. This goes back to our earlier point that I was talking about in the beginning of the show of Elgin and I getting ready to come to blows, me about to drive out to Philly to come fight him. So I told him, I said, I don't know where Black people should be in this protest. And I'm not one to say necessarily that they belong there in the protest with the Latino community, specifically because besides the fact that we've been beating this drum, many of us have been beating this drum. There's still a large portion of the Latino community that has this anti-Black approach. Absolutely. So to hear many, especially the loudest ones, so let me not say it's the majority of them, but the loudest ones
stating it is not my fight. This is why this country is in the position that it is today. The color of my skin should not matter. Whether I'm brown, black, purple, this is a humanitarian issue. We are in this position because there is no unity.
Where are Black people? We need you guys to protest. Why aren't you out in the streets with us? As though there isn't anti-Blackness in the community, as though much of that anti-Blackness led you to go ahead and vote for this man in the first place, as though we haven't been seeing these types of things for a long time, and people have been telling you that these are the signs, these are the warning signs. What's going on? I, for one, was not one that was ready to say I want to put Black bodies on the line to be out in the streets in LA to protest with people that necessarily were not of the same revolutionary mindset when it comes to our people. With that being said, Elgin said, "My guy, you sound like a fucking FBA or an ADOS." And I was like, "What?" I sound like what, my nigga, ADOS? And he went through the steps, and we had a lengthy conversation about why it sounds the way it sounds and what the possible solution should be. I can't say necessarily in my heart. Logically, I can see his points, but in my heart, I just can't move myself to it. What do you say, Krush? And then we'll jump to L about Black people participating in the protests for against ICE and immigration and all these other things that have been happening in LA as of recent.
Concern and understanding goes out to those families that are dealing with this. But, as a community, we made our stance known with the election, overwhelmingly so. We did what we were supposed to do. We made our choice. We made our choice very clear. You know what I'm saying? The numbers are there. And this is not to say that we wouldn't or that we shouldn't. But I'm not here trying to speak for the community. But I know the part that me and Mom played in my local community in this election, and those communities related to theirs, and what stance they took in this. While the concern and the understanding is there, the numbers in the Latino community made it evident, and the anti-Blackness is too overwhelming to deny. When your community is publicly disrespected by the regime itself, and then you turn around and publicly support it, what's and then to expect support from the community that kept telling you, don't do this, don't do this. But the proximity to whiteness was too tempting to ignore, and you made it very plain that that proximity was just too valuable.
It's too tempting.
Way too valuable to you.
Too tempting.
I've been saying this quietly for some time, but the Latino community has some work to do. They have some serious work to do, some serious admissions to make for themselves. And this is not to say that there are not Latino and Hispanic individuals that are, clearly, displaying sincere allyship and sincere awareness of the situation.
Facts. This
is not a blanket statement on the community at all, because I've seen the brothers are making clear statements and being honest about, what's going on in the Latino community. And I'm starting to hear some honest critique of their own community. Now I'm starting to hear it. I'm not saying it hasn't existed, but recently I've been starting to hear some serious self-critique.
It's been loud. It's been louder. It's been louder. I'll say that. It has been louder.
Critique from within the Latino community is becoming louder, and that's what that's a great first step. But there's a lot of damage has been done. And my community right now needs to do what they do best, and that's survive.
Let me say this real quick.
And survival requires hard choices.
Let me say this real quick. As an immigrant and Krush as the son of immigrants, I know that one of the things that I believe, and I'll let him speak for himself, but I believe one of the things that Elgin took offense to was the fact that as an immigrant, we're coming from a particular space where we should understand this plight better or differently than, let's say, ADOS or FBA, right? And I dig that. Yeah. But I also, like I said, my frustration also comes because I've seen similarly in my community Africans that want that proximity to whiteness that also voted that way as well, and we see that a lot. Like it's been an interesting dilemma. But I'm gonna go ahead, L. Let L run. Let L real quick.
Yeah, man, this is I had this conversation yesterday with my sisters also, who are battling similar sentiments as many Black folks are, such as that's not our fight.
I will not be going out there and protesting. I will not be putting my body on the line. I will be doing what I can in other ways, but as a Black woman, after those election results and also after a lot of the racism I've experienced from the community that is currently being targeted, I am not going to go outside and put my body and my safety on the line.
Black people, go home! Hey, family! Black folks, go home! Black folks, go home! This is not our business. This is not our business. Black people, go home!
We told you, don't let them use your bodies on the front line for this. But you put yourself out there in the front, made yourself visible, and now you've given him his opportunity and his reasoning to deploy the National Guard. And we know it's wrong. ICE is coming and separating families and taking children away from their mothers, fathers away from their families, mothers away from their families. It's wrong. But when it comes to us and our bodies, they're not going to be taking us away. They're just going to pew and unalive us.
Black folks should stay home, and we have our own thing to work on, and we have our own issues. We've seen the 92%, right? The Black women who have said similar things about their involvement. I, as an organizer, understand the frustration that many Black folks are feeling in regards to what other groups have said and done to us. When I'm out there fighting and advocating and sacrificing and doing all the things, I have an awareness of that. But I'm not out there for them. I'm out there because of what is taking place in regards to these moments because of the overall impact that it have and will have in the future
Yeah.
on people within the African diaspora. So it's important that I root myself in that. And here's the thing that I said to my sisters that a lot of people kind of raise their eyebrow at. I'm not fighting for people in their perfection. I'm fighting for their humanity.
Mm.
I'm not expecting a particular group of people to have
Be
a
perfect.
particular view. And again,
Mm.
I understand the frustration. I understand that this is something that I also wrestle with, but I'm fighting for the humanity of the people.
Mm.
And when I see what's taking place with ICE, particularly, that's not a Latino or Hispanic issue,
You're right. The
right?
numbers bear
It's
it out that
not
they affect
isolated
Africans and
to
Caribbeans
a
more than
particular
anybody.
group of
Yep.
people.
Nope.
While we are not facing the type of vitriol from ICE on the same level people can debate as Hispanics and Latinos, our people are still battling with it. We're still facing, and ICE is one part of a larger system that we're fighting. We're not
That's
out
the
here
one thing that
fighting
gave me
against
pause. You're
ICE.
right.
We're
You're
not. We're
right about
fighting
that.
against imperialism.
You're right about
Imperialism
that.
that has more military bases in other countries than they even have in fucking America. We're
Yep.
fighting against imperialism that is responsible for the
The
reason
conditions that
why
cause folks to
your
come over here in the
parents
first place.
have come to this
Yeah.
country.
Yeah.
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 So we're fighting against that. We're fighting
Yeah.
against that monster. And
Yeah.
again, I don't have any angst against folks who are wrestling with the position of whether or not they should be involved. I think that's healthy. And what I respect about you, my brother, is that you went to somebody who was actually in the fight to share your angst. You didn't go to a silo. You didn't hop on social media and talk to other people who already have the same mindset that you have. You went and talked to somebody who's out there doing the work and who's going to give you a perspective for you to chew on, but at the same time, also going to say, yo, you sound like Tyreek right now. This is what Tyreek and them is saying. This is what ADOS and FBA are standing on. They're
Yeah.
standing on and saying that black folks shouldn't be engaged in the
Yeah.
immigration ICE fight.
Yeah.
How are you reconciling that perspective?
Yeah.
Right? Because these are motherfuckers that you're not aligned with.
No, not even a little bit. And like
You
we
know
were
what I
saying,
mean?
like I was saying before, the
Yeah.
immigration disproportionately affects Africans and Caribbeans more than Latinos. People won't tell you that, but it unfortunately it does. So that's
But
why I
hold
said
on, before you go any further, I think we only think about immigration from when they come to this country. We don't think
oh
about the
yeah,
other side of immigration.
yeah,
And I think
yeah,
that's where we get lost
yeah,
at. We
yeah,
don't think
yeah,
about the other side of immigration. I'm not even talking about the struggles that families have to go through to come here. I'm talking about the impact
yeah,
of imperialism to
yeah,
cause
yeah. That
folks to
made you
want
come
to
and make that trip in the
leave
first place. Yep.
Haiti, all of the
Yeah.
aspect. We
All the
don't talk
places.
about
Yep.
that enough, and I think that's where organizers have to do a better job of internationalizing this fight, because it's not just simply what is taking place here in America. We gotta get rid of that American exceptionalism and that component and think about what is happening in these particular countries that America has done via directly through NATO or through other
Yep.
shit
Yep.
to cause people to want to
Want to
leave.
flee their
Nobody wants to
homeland.
leave
Yeah.
their
Yeah.
home.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think that's the challenge. And I think this is
Yeah.
a much needed,
Yeah.
larger
Yeah.
conversation that we're having
Yeah.
that unfortunately you can't have when you're typing it on social media, because everybody's coming in
Yeah.
motivated to share their
Guns
perspective.
blazing. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
not
Guns
motivated
blazing.
to learn, to sharpen.
Guns blazing.
They're
Yeah.
coming in
Guns
with their
blazing.
biases and they're rooted in that.
Yeah. 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 I think once again, I think the crux of it for me is trying to balance the fact that you do want to fight imperialism and you do want to stand up for the humanity of people that shouldn't be getting treated the way people have been getting treated. Mothers and children being ripped apart, fathers just being disappeared off of the streets of the United States. But at the same time, the
Yeah,
buildup, the
yeah,
culmination of all of
yeah,
this thing
yeah.
happening, it didn't happen in a vacuum. we still have to address the anti-Blackness that Latinos face towards Black people in this country. Talk less of the anti-Blackness they have within their own community of Black Latinos, like Panamanians and
How
Puerto
do we
Ricans.
how do we address that though? Because we acknowledge that it's not all Latinos and Hispanics. Because when we look at the protests in LA particularly, there was a large Hispanic and Latino portion within that particular demonstration. How do we navigate what we have seen in these past elections, particularly, right? Because the past elections is what has brought the anti-Blackness from Latinos and Hispanics into light, particularly we see take place in Florida, where Florida, there's a whole lot of them motherfuckers down there who are essentially white, right?
Yeah,
Dan Lebatard talked about this a couple of times on his show, Highly Questionable. He's had conversations about this multiple times about the Cuban community in Florida and how they all have gravitated and accepted and swallowed conservative white supremacist right-wing ideologies.
Yeah.
How do we separate and navigate that space where we don't always have to say, it's not all of them. It's some of them. I don't know, because Black folks fall in the same situation, don't we? Like we have some Black folks who are not only coons but coon adjacent.
I mean, granted, I think we've all seen signs of anti-Blackness in the Latino community for quite some time, but to see it exposed on this level had to be a little shocking for us. So blatant, and I think it's been a bit of a shock to the system. So much so that we're like, hey, you don't want to grasp on how bad it actually is until you see that shit in Florida, and you're like, what the, whoa, like they want to erase the accent.
I think, but one of the benefits we have is
doing that is not with.
Well, I mean, the history of the transatlantic slave trade, the history of the transatlantic slave trade. You know what I'm saying? They have receipts in that shit.
Right, but that's
the whole thing.
But that's what I'm saying. I think the dilemma and how we rectify it is being able to find likeness in one another, right? And it's one of the arguments that I always make with this beef or standoff between ADOS and like the Caribbeans and Africans and so on, right? Is that our number one thing is that we look the same, my guy. Our experiences, regardless of how we got here, what your title in the work world is, and all those other things, we look the same. Our experiences,
white supremacy, we're all niggas.
It's been impacted the same. The unfortunate part is that within, at least in my perspective, and if you're in the comments, please, we want to make sure that we hear from you as well, is that Latinos have both a white and a Black side. What binds them is the language, right? So still, outside of the language, when they see one another, regardless of if they speak the language or not, you are Black. I had a homegirl of mine who's from Panama, and she's like her family, she's like darker than Elgin by a little bit. She is. And her mom is very close to my complexion. But yet and still, she takes a sense of pride in being able to pin her lineage to the Spanish side, the white side of their history. You get what I'm saying? And her mother took as dark as her mother is, that I've just explained to you, and as dark as she is, her mother made an intentional stance when she was raising her daughter to tell her, don't date Black, don't date Black, don't date Black guys, don't date African Americans or Black Caribbeans, don't date them. If you're going to find yourself a light Latino or a white guy. You see what I'm saying? So they need to break that barrier first before we can have any impact, I believe.
I agree. And I am frustrated with that mom for doing that. But I'm angry at white supremacy for creating that in the mom.
Putting her in that position in the first place. I dig it.
I can be frustrated with you while being angry and point my vitriol at you for causing that particular thing. Like, I hate brothers and sisters in the community that commit acts of violence towards each other. That frustrations me. But I'm angry at the system that creates the need and the reason for them. And I can address both at the same time. I can tell them, my people, to knock it off while wanting to destroy the system that is creating the need for them to do that.